Good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas. As usual, we're going to start with prepping the skin. Fenty Beauty lip scrub. You always want to condition your lips before you put any color on them. Give it time to moisturize if you have any dead skin, to go ahead and rub that dead skin off. It's super chilly in North Carolina right now, so this is a must. So for primer today, I'm going to be using the Yves Saint Laurent Touche Eclat Blur Primer. They have it in two colors. This is the one with the gold inside of it. They have one for fairer skin that has silver in it. So this is what we'll be using today. And I just usually take this time whenever I do primer and just massage it into my face. Of course, you should be working with clean hands whenever you're touching your skin. Clean skin and clean hands. And since it's Christmas, you just really want to take the extra time and pamper yourself. You should do it anyway, but a lot of us are not able to spend Christmas with their family. This is my first year not spending Christmas with my family, so I'm doing something to pass the time. Okay, and then next I'm gonna do my eyebrows. So typically I usually don't do a lot I don't usually do anything beyond brushing my eyebrows, but today I'm actually going to shape them and do them. So I just use a spoolie and brush through my eyebrows. I haven't had my eyebrows done since last year, so these are my very natural eyebrows, but I typically only get my eyebrows threaded maybe 3 times a year. So usually what I do is I just brush them in an upward motion, brush all the way through them. Sometimes your brow hairs can be a little bit unruly, so I'm just brushing them to get them as straight as possible. And then what helps me is I just kind of brush them in the shape that I want them to go. So I have a naturally rounded brow, but when I actually do my brows, I like them to have more square shape. So typically I just take the brush and kind of just shape them in the direction and in the shape that I want. So once I go in with the pencil and trying to fill them in, I already have like an outline of what I want them to look like. My favorite brow pencil that I like is the Brow Contour Pro by Benefit. It has pretty much everything in one spot that you would usually use. So your brow pencil, and then if you want to do highlight and contour and all of that stuff, it has those colors that would be conducive with whatever eyebrow color that you choose. So I got one that has black, it has a dark brown, and then the highlighter colors here. So I'm gonna go in with black, and you just twist it so some product to come out. So I really like this. It makes life very easy. And then just use upward motions to fill them in. And I'm barely tapping. And this is quite dark, so I'm very light-handed because I don't want my eyebrows to be super dark. And you can always use the spoolie. Ooh. And that's the thing I like about it. It's soft enough where you can just go in with your finger and wipe it away if you make a mistake. But if you put in too much product, you can go in with your spoolie and just brush out the extra product. And so for my line, I typically just go right I usually stay in my hairline. If I try to go up under, I get all these extra lines up under that I don't necessarily want. So I literally go into my actual hairline and kind of use that as my guide to make a clean line. And I use short feather-like moves. And over the top, again, I typically stay within my hairline. I'm gonna try to go above it and just fill it in. Use my hair as my little guide. And then this right here is where I make my arch. So typically that might be a little bit outside of my natural hairline. And then on the edge, I just bring it back into my hairline there. And that's my eyebrow. We'll go back and clean it up later. I typically do my eyebrows at the same time and then go back and clean them up. I feel like that helps me get a more even brow. So again, and when it comes to eyebrows, you have to do what is more comfortable for you. When you look at YouTube, there's several YouTube videos out there on how to do eyebrows, but you have to find the right technique for your eyebrows. I have fuller eyebrows, so if you have thinner eyebrows, this technique might not necessarily work for you because I don't have to do a lot of filling in my eyebrows. And so these are a little dark for me. So I'm just gonna take the spoolie and brush them through some. And of course, we'll go in and clean up around the edges. Ew. And I typically like my eyebrows to look a little bit more natural, so I don't like thin looking eyebrows. So now I'm gonna go in with the highlighter color. And this would be kind of akin to having concealer. And you can use concealer. I just find for me, I'll use concealer at the end, but I actually quite like the little highlighter pencil that comes with this, because I can easily go in and create the shape that I want with this. And then I can go in with concealer over what I've already created. And I just feel like this is much, much faster. And I feel like it's a good match. It's not exactly the same color as my skin. It's different enough where I can actually see the differentiation in my actual skin. But if I didn't feel like blending it out, nobody's gonna be that close to my face with a microscope to be inspecting my makeup like that. So as you can see, it's much more clean, just that simple, just that quick, which is why I like this pencil when I'm doing my client's makeup. This is a real time Savor. And this is also, I think, a good tool to have if you're new to doing your eyebrows. This little hair right here just doesn't want to cooperate. If you're new to doing eyebrows, or if you're uncomfortable with doing eyebrows, I think this will help you get comfortable with it. So as you can see, my eyebrows are not 100% even. So I'm just, ooh. So I'm just pushing my little eyebrow hairs out. And this is good enough for me. I like. So later when we start doing the base, I'll go in with some concealer to tighten it up a bit, but this is what they look like for now. And as always, if you need to do some reshaping, I typically like to use my spoolie brush to do reshaping because I have enough hair to go in and kind of move my little brow hairs around to give the shape if I need to move hairs around versus trying to draw everything in. So again, if you have thinner eyebrows, you may want to use somebody else's tutorial on how to do eyebrows, but for thicker eyebrows, this is how I do mine. I'm going to be using my Pat McGrath today, and I'm going to pull out my oldie but goodie Sephora full coverage foundation brush, the 66. I've had this brush for years, and I go through phases where I want to use sponges to do my makeup, and then I go through phases where I want to go back to brushes. Just depends on how I feel. And this is a thinner foundation. It's medium to full coverage, so you can still see some blemishes peeking through. And then when I get the product distributed, I'll start doing stippling motions like that to kind of fill in so we don't have any brush marks. And some people at this point would go over it with a sponge. I don't want to do all of that. I love how this foundation makes my skin look. I like that it has a natural satin finish, so you still look very skin-like. And I'm going to wipe off my lip primer. It's been slowly coming off because my lips have been peeling horrendously throughout this whole tutorial. So I'm going to use my Pat McGrath concealer, and then I'm going to use my Sonia Kashuk concealer brush. I actually really like the shape. So I'm just going to put a dot. Well, a couple of dots. And here, a lot of people like to look really bright up under their eyes. It really just depends. Like today, since we have so much going on, I really want the focus to be on the eye area, so I don't want it to be too light. And we're just concealing, bringing light to the areas that we want to look highlighted. where the sun would naturally hit you. And we do a little bit of concealer down here because we are going to contour. So not too much. And I just let it sit up under my eyes a little bit so it can dry down. The concealer can dry down. This is just a tad bit too light for my liking right at the moment. And just again being mindful of those areas right up under the eye, because I don't want to have to redo my eyes again. And the good thing about concealer, it's supposed to lighten and brighten up under there to make you look more awake if you've been looking tired or whatnot. But however, if you get a concealer that is too bright, you can always go over it with a powder that will neutralize some of that brightness. So in a moment, I'm going to go in and set, and I'm just going to use a yellow translucent powder, a yellow powder instead of a translucent powder to try to offset some of this brightness. Oh, well, it doesn't look too bad after it's blended out. And I'm literally just taking the brush, just tapping and pressing it in. And before, in some of my older videos, you've seen me use a sponge. You can do the same thing with a sponge. I'm just using brushes today. Just going to take the corner of my concealer brush here and just run that right up under my eyebrow. I'm not going to add any more concealer, just whatever is left over. And now contour. Today I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty Tantour. How about I turn it the right way up? Or yeah, the Huda Beauty Tantour in medium. And I'm going to apply it with my BH Cosmetics brush. I've been using this brush for a long time to do contour. I have some other brushes, but I don't like to use them. This is a cream contour. I prefer to use the other brushes I have with the powder. So I'm just going to take it and literally dab that in. And a little goes a long way with this. So I'm just going to tap it. I probably put too much, but I did say that I was feeling contoured today. So we're going to be very contoured today. And then I'm just going to take all of my excess. And so I do circles to blend in my contour with this brush. And I circle upward. So I circle that way. A lot of people drag theirs down, but I circle upward until it just kind of blends in to where I want it. And then this one, I'm going to circle backward. Whew. And I'm literally just circling this back into my hairline. And again, circling upward. You always want to circle upward. You don't want to bring it down because we want high cheekbones. So circling upward. So this is the contour that I'm used to on this side. I'm not used to it like it is on this side. So I'm just going to keep doing this side until, and I'm just taking the excess that's left on my brush and just rubbing it down here, getting rid of some of my extra chins down here. And whenever you have too much contour or more than you feel comfortable with, just go back over it with your foundation brush or sponge. Like I'm doing my best to blend all of this out. But I'm gonna go over with my foundation brush. Just because it's a little bit more than what I'm typically comfortable with. Where's my foundation brush? And then I'm just going to just blend that back. And a lot of people will use powders as well to kind of offset what they don't want to be seen in their contours. I quite like this. It looks more like a bronze than it does an actual contour. All right. Now I'm going to do my nose with my little nose brush. And if y'all see me looking down, it's literally because I'm picking through all of these brushes. They all need to be cleaned. And so, because I don't want it to be too heavy, I feel like that's already too much. A little of this product goes a long way. Still didn't realize I picked up that much product. So I'm just going to literally like wipe off my brush now and then just blend in what's here on my nose. I actually really like this color of Tantour. It's very warm. I like warm colored bronzers. for my complexion. And this is my favorite brush ever. This is a Real Techniques shadow brush, but I use it for my nose contour. I'm just gonna bring that line across, and then giving myself that little button at the end. I quite like that. Quite like that a lot. And then I'm just gonna do the tiniest bit up under my lips. So this is a trick if you want fuller lips. You can do a little bit of contour up under your lips, and that will give you the illusion of having more pouty, more pouty lips. Quite like that. Quite like that a lot. All right, so now we're going to powder. I'm going to set up under my eyes and everywhere I put concealer, that's where I'm gonna powder. I'm gonna use the Fenty Beauty, and I'm gonna use the color Kashuk to go up under my eyes. And I'm just going to take my BH Cosmetics. It's my Ray Ray brush in number 4. I actually really, my favorite brushes are BH Cosmetics. They're very inexpensive, but they are the brushes that I started out with, and I've tried others like Morphe and SEPHORA. I feel like there's been another brush that I've used, and I always keep coming back to these BH Cosmetics ones. I just like them. They're inexpensive. You can get sets from $30 to $40, but you get 10, 12 brushes in a set, and they're just really inexpensive to replace. Like a lot of times with makeup can get really expensive, and brushes are something that you should invest in because that's what you use the most. You wash it the most. Your makeup, most of the time people don't properly clean their makeup palettes like they're supposed to, or anything like that, but your brushes are typically what take the most wear and tear because you do wash those, you do sanitize those, you do try to reduce the amount of bacteria that you put on your face that gets captured in brushes. So I'm very hard on brushes. When I use them because that's what they're there for. And I clean my brushes quite often, especially when I have clients. That's one of the reasons I have so many. So I clean them regularly, and my BH Cosmetics have stood the test of time. As much as I clean them and everything, I never have any issues with them. And then when it's time to replace them after good wear and tear, I'm not spending an arm and a leg to replace my brushes. And I just love the way they pick up product and distribute them. They have all types of shapes and sizes. Like I said, I have smaller eyes and hooded eyes, so they have the brushes that are small enough to get into my creases and be able to distribute the product properly. So I would definitely recommend, if you're just starting out with makeup, or you just don't want to spend that much on brushes but get quality brushes, definitely go to BH Cosmetics and get your brushes. Like, I still have brushes from when I first started doing makeup. I still use them. They haven't worn out on me. Some of them I did damage because I dropped it in some other place and it just got ripped to shreds. But I haven't at this point had to replace any of my brushes due to them just falling apart. So they last, and I've been doing this for 5 years, really. So probably longer than that. So yeah, but those are mine, my personal brushes. I wouldn't keep brushes to put on clients that long. So to set my contour in place, I'm actually going to go over it with the Fenty Beauty bronzer, and I'm just going to use that as the powder, and I'm going to use the same brush that I use for my concealer, and I'm just going to go over it and set it, because I don't want it to be lost. I haven't tried this combination before, but I like it. I like it a lot. And this is a good practice to have, like if you know that you're going to be out and about somewhere for a long period of time, or you know you're going to be someplace where it's hot, go ahead and set your areas with powder of the colors that you're using. That's what I typically do instead of using like an all over translucent powder. I will set everything with a color closer to whatever it is that I was using to still retain the colors that I had, so they don't get lost in translation. And I've noticed as I've gotten older, my skin type is changing, where I just used to be dry all the time. I'm now oily combination, so I start to get oil in my T-zone these days, and I'm just like, what? Okay. I feel like I could go a little bit. Don't want to come up too far in my little eye area, but I do want to be bronzed today. That's how I'm feeling. It's a holiday. I want to be extra. Okay, so now we're going to set with setting spray. So I'm going to use the Rare Beauty setting spray. It's a 4-in-1, so you can use it as a primer, a misting throughout the day for refreshing, a setting spray. And I'm not a person who likes to spray mist all over my face. A lot of people like that feeling. I don't like it, so I just spray the bottom of whatever beauty sponge I'm using today. It's a Juno & Co. sponge, and then I just bounce it into my skin. And I find that when I do it this way, everything just melts into the skin. I feel like I look very airbrushed right now, and I'm very happy about this. and then you don't have too much product come off that way as well. So I'm just going to let that dry down. So I'm going to do highlighter now. I'm not going to do blush because I'm really liking the way the skin looks right now. But since we got all this going on my eyes, I'm just going to give us a little do of highlight. This is one of my favorite brushes for doing highlight. This is something I bought at the beauty supply store. I just thought it was really pretty with all of the colors, but I do like the fan shape of the brush. And I'm going to use my favorite highlighter. This is Afternoon Snack and Mo Honey from Fenty Beauty. This is the one that I use pretty much in almost all of my videos because I just like it the most. The side that I use is the Afternoon Snack side, which is this one right here. I don't necessarily use that side over here. It's a bit bright for me, so I just like this side over here. Just gonna pick it up on my brush and just do a light dusting. Since we have so much going on the eyes, I don't need it to be as bright as I would usually make it. Just enough to have a nice little glow. So if I was to take pictures today, it would catch. I'm just going to use my finger to do my nose area. And since I did my eyebrows today, I'm going to put just a tiny bit up under my eyebrows. Yes, brush, catch the light. And if you want to, you can use the brush to get up under there, but I just like using my fingers. And then right above my Cupid's bow, I feel like if I don't have this just makes me feel naked with my lip color. I don't know why. So this is the final look, and I'll be right back. So finished look. Let's try it with a red.